Hello, everyone. How is everyone doing this morning? Hey, Rusty over on Rumble. Thank you for tuning in. Good morning, Patrick. From the deep in the forests of Kentucky, are there lots of mosquitoes deep in those forests, Patrick? That's what I want to know. You know, good morning, Kevin from Lakeland. I assume you're still in Lakeland. Good morning, Jacob. Good morning, Royal Palms. Good morning, Rick. Are you still in the Baltimore area? Or Maryland, should we say? Good morning, Dean. Good, Patrick. What do you say? Bernie Sanders likes Trump idea to invest in Intel. That's all I need to know. Yeah, there you go. If it's liked by Bernie Sanders, I don't pretty much want anything to do with it, with the concept. All right, I did not see that. Thank you. That just made my morning, Patrick. Good morning, David. I don't want government investing in equity in any companies. Okay? That opens up a real slippery slope. Of now, instead of using taxes or tariffs or other things or incentives to pick winners and losers, now you're directly investing in the companies. Oh boy. Oh boy. And then what control does that lead to? Oh boy. I don't want corporatism. Don't want it. Good morning, David. Love the countdown graphics. I could probably make a new one at some point. I just don't have the energy. I'd rather focus on getting this information out there. Good morning, Tony. Hello, Charles. 60 in Maryland. I walked the dogs at 4 a.m. this morning, and it was over 90 degrees here. We're going to hit 113 to 114 today. Possibly a record high. Possibly. We shall see. You know what? 90 at 4 a.m. I like 80 maybe 90. That was a little hot. All right, but I chose to live in a desert, so that's what I get. That's what I get for living in a desert. All right, we had Bostic speaking already. We had initial jobless claims and continuing jobless claims both rising. Initial jobless claims coming in above consensus and above prior. People just aren't finding jobs very quickly. What else we have to say? Good morning to John. Yeah, it is dry. It is dry. Although the humidity is up a bit because monsoons, we could be getting some storms. So it's a dry heat like an oven. Let's see. This is interesting. If you didn't see it, Philly Fed. New orders dropping drastically and prices paid climbing bigly. So, also Walmart missed. We'll get to that in a second, but they started talking about price. They're going to try to keep prices as low as long as possible, but prices are going up on when they're restocking for stuff they're buying. So they're going to take some compression. They're going to take some margin compression as long as they can, but eventually they'll probably have to raise prices. So we shall see. What do we have coming up next? We have S&P Manufacturing and Services and Composite. Manufacturing was in contraction before. Both services and composites were still in expansion. Let's see how those play out. That's 15 minutes after the cash open. Let's see. What else do we have? I'm sorry, I was just glancing over at Rumble to see if there are any questions on there since they don't go into my live feed yet. Good morning, Ted. We have existing home sales. We have the Consumer Board Leading Index, which has been in contraction forever, and still expected to be in contraction. Again, things are deteriorating under the surface, and we're not getting disinflation or deflation. So this could get real interesting. S&P 500, you got Walmart trading down. I mean, they did beat on revenue still, but their guidance, if you're looking at it, plus Walmart is not trading at inexpensive multiples. That's why I would not be picking it. It's very tradable. We've put some trades on in Walmart for newsletter and other stuff. But it's not something I'd be owning long term up here. It's tradable, would not be backing up the truck. Same thing for Costco. Oh, you got Boeing bouncing, but everything is pretty red this morning. Definitely, if you've been looking, Palantir, huge sell off there. Nvidia, does the tone is changing on AI too? Don't know how it's going to make revenue streams, blah blah blah. Meta freezing their and restructuring their AI hiring after going on a hiring spree. So what I'm looking for overall is we're going to get some kind of, retail still going to rush in. But the next bounce this is going to be the secondary reaction. On this next bounce, we're going to get the VIX to drop again. And if I can't tell you what to do, but I'd be really seriously to look for some option hedges going into September, October timeframe. I'd really be looking to, you can put it, and NASDAQ has been now getting the brunt of the sell-off, especially if the narrative with AI. So some NDX options, if once volatility drops down a bit again, could be an interesting play, about 20% below the market on the next bounce up. Could be an interesting play if you don't already have insurance in place. Something to consider. Definitely something to consider. I mean, good morning, OD Green. We're getting people this has been a very orderly sell-off. Very orderly sell-off, and we'll go through the levels this morning. Groups, let's just do a quick refresh. Groups, everything negative. Energy holding up the best, but still negative. Fed watch, we're down to 80% for the cut. Remember, Powell speaks tomorrow morning. The good old J Powell. Fear and greed, we're not even in neutral mode yet. Shiller PE still with the pullback, 38.51. Look at where we sit with this, how expensive. You still have retail going to pile back in. You're still going to get the dip buyers pile in. And we already talked about Walmart. Again, pricing pressures. Zoom after the close. But again, the rest of the week, nothing much going on. All right. Oh, there's their VIX. So he spiked up yesterday above the final target on the double. We're at the final target again. The key thing, if we do spike, I'm paying attention to yesterday's high. And if it can't get above there, if it does, I'm paying attention to 18. Right around the 50% retracement for the last little thing. But let's take a look at the overall market. Here's exactly what I'm looking at. We have not been able to get above the 4-hour rotation zone. We bounced in the 4-hour rotation zone yesterday afternoon. Had some panic buying low. Now we're coming down to retest it. Would be very interesting if we formed a potential double bottom down here. We're trading against the 62.5 right now, where you see there's a pretty strong support shelf. It's a pretty strong support shelf just above that. 63.87 area. If we start breaking down below that, I'm looking for 63.78, which puts us in potential double bottom territory, and then near yesterday's lows, 63.70 to 63.62. If we did take those out, then let's see what we have. Then we're looking at the harmonic cluster around 63.40 to 63.44. But I'm really focused. There was a lot of buying pressure in here yesterday. There's the major. We had the first bounce back on the 4th, rejected there, then built another base on the 7th there, and we retested that area yesterday and got the buying pressure. So as long as this holds, I'll keep watching for a bottoming pattern. All right, if that breaks, then I'm really focused on the 62.5 area for the next thing. And if we close below it, will I be rushing in to sell the farm? No. I will still be looking for bounce patterns, and the bounce patterns that I'm going to be looking to, again, for hedges and rollover plays. Hedges and rollover plays for bounces. Especially at this point, being very patient with entries. Here's your NASDAQ. Again, we came down below the 62.5 yesterday, but closing back above it on the daily basis. I'm watching for this morning. Right around 23,160 to about 23,173 is key for support. We closed below 23,160. Then we're back down to, let me change the color on this so I can see it properly. Then we're looking at right around 23,117 to put it in potential double bottom territory at 23,076. All right. On any rally, let's say we don't get down there in the NASDAQ and we start getting the retail rush in to buy like NVIDIA, Broadcom, Palantir. Some of these things like Palantir does have a percent beat buy potential. I'm watching then if we break above this top, this little peak without forming a double, I'm going to pay attention to the other side of the 4-hour rotation zone. And then if we keep going back up, especially through tomorrow, I'm watching this declining best fit line. What else? Good morning, Anissa. It is tough to be patient, but you know what? Patience pays off. Patience definitely pays off. You don't always have to force everything. You can be pretty patient on things. Let me just see. Hold on. Sterling just texted me. He's tied up at work. So that's why you don't see Sterling in this morning. All right, but we always appreciate what he does. So that's key. If we look at this, again, this is definitely going to get interesting. We had the pullback. I'm just going back. We had the pullback at the beginning of August. Eked out a new high, but now we're pulling back closer to those lows. Closer, if we really start selling off 22,936 is very key. That would retouch it with the 50. The end is not in yet. We're going to get bounces, and then those bounces are going to be key for setting up possibly a major rollover pattern. The Dow has confirmed but not triggered. This is really turning into a channeling double, so very careful with this one. Very careful with this one. It hasn't even triggered it officially yet. So that's where we sit right there. If it does follow through, 44,607, 44,493, 44,379 are the targets. If we don't, back to the upside, very strong resistance. If we get above the channel line, we have very strong resistance at just above 45,100. Russell, back to the bottom of the daily rotation zone. If this breaks, the key next support isn't to about 2242. There is a little potential mini double in the Russell. So that would be the thing that I'd be watching for. If this stays in place and we start getting that buying, it would also be on the way of the 4-hour rotation zone. And we'd still hold the bottom of the daily rotation zone. So the targets on that will be 2289, 2295, 2300. Some nice round number targets on there. Again, the VIX slightly elevated again, but look at where we were trading. Is there a lot of fear? Yeah, it bounced off the little double bottom lows, but there's not a lot of fear in this market at all. So it's been a pretty orderly unwind so far. Yields, we've had with the sell-off, we've had a couple-day pullback. Yields starting to climb, especially with the information out this morning. Remember, we have the targets for the double. So unless something drastically shifts there, I'm still watching for the yields to climb. Crude, little bounce in the key resistance in the daily rotation zone after the EIA numbers yesterday, but I'm, again, watching for the rollover in this key support. This is another one. Got to be patient. I'm not trying to, capture one green bar when the trend is still down. After breaking very key support, retesting it, and rolling over. That's another one. Gold. Officially triggered a percent B, but did they close it below that? Was settlement below? Hold on, I got to check this. Was settlement? Because, the settlements drive me crazy in this market. 3389.7. 3380. They did. They changed the settlement. So no official percent B buy on settlement, but right before then, we had some a key close technically on the 4 hour. That's why it's technically triggered for me off the 4 hour right here. So I'm still watching now. That's where yesterday's low was very key for me. If we take out that, hands off for any short-term bounces in gold. Gold, we got cycles going up out of oversold condition. But if we take out yesterday's low, I don't want to touch it because we could be heading back to the 3,300 area. But I'm looking for potentially a little bounce. Now, this is not a long-term play. This is a bounce play only. Dollar index also climbing with gold. Dollar index, look at this. Been able to hold up pretty well. Still a lot of key overhead resistance coming in. So this has got to get above this 98.20 to really sustain a move. Other than that, for many buys here, it's aggressively moving up stops in case it does roll over. What else do we have? We have the spiders. Again, you can watch for on a rollover. This is a flagging pattern. You can watch for a retest, especially if it comes back down to this 634 area. We're trading 635.75 right around these lows yesterday afternoon. If that breaks down, I'm going to watch for a rollover for a potential double in there, although this was a pretty decent bear flag pattern. So we could easily retest that low area if we get selling pressure into the open. The thing I'm watching on here is I'm watching the 4 hour rotation zone. Remember, on the futures, the 1 hour rotation zone on the spiders and the Qs. The Qs, again, closing above the 62.5 on the daily after dipping below it. Same thing on the Qs, really just a flagging pattern. If we do roll back over, first key area support is 563. Major support is about 560. So, what else? Bitcoin, little bounce yesterday. Pay attention if we do reverse today, pay attention to yesterday's high. That would be a percent beat buy on a break above that, but it has to follow through on the close. If we roll over, I'm going to see if this massive double triggers, but it has to really trigger for me on the weekly. So it can confirm today if we roll over, but it has to trigger, and it's still against the weekly rotation zone. Yes, Ethereum does trade quite differently. There's your Ethereum chart. Ethereum was nailed by harmonics perfectly, by the way. So, what else? We had Tesla play out the double yesterday, so the double's over in Tesla. Again, not a lot of great setups in there. NVIDIA did confirm this lopsided double, but did not trigger it yesterday. Still not triggered. Again, still right at the dipping into the top of the weekly rotation zone. What I'm going to be paying attention to is, especially if we take out yesterday's high 40, bounce back up in NVIDIA, possibly invalidating the not triggered double, and then the next rollover play. But again, it's by the dip. By the way, Broadcom's still oversold. Yesterday's high could be key if we get the rally on in that. And then I'll be looking for also Broadcom to form a major topping pattern. Here's your Palantir. Finally into the weekly rotation zone. Would I be backing up the truck on this one? No. Could it get a bounce play? Yes. That's why I got the harmonics up here. Especially if retail starts running in and we take out yesterday's high and follow through with a close. Key target area for me would be 166 to about 172 for another rollover play. Would I be getting in this long term? No, I would not. Where is this thing still trading? Even at this pullback, it's still trading a P to E of 524. That's not forward PE. That's so no. What else do we have? We have Walmart. Walmart gapping down. Again, Walmart's not cheap either. Talking about pricing pressures, they're getting margin compression now because of their costs are going up for stuff they're having to buy. 43.45. Not cheap for a Walmart. Okay? And their margin compressions. So, this is not something I want to own right now up at these levels. I'll be looking for a pullback in Walmart. Would I be shorting it? No. But I'd be very patient. Because this is, if this drops substantially, it could turn into a decent long-term play again, but not up here. Do I have any thoughts? No, not really. I don't have any thoughts right now on grains. What else? That's really about it. It's really about it. Going to be watching. Again, does it have to happen today? No, but I will be looking for still bounce setups. And those are bounce plays only. This is where if you're trying to short some of these moves, you got to be real nimble because we can get those snap reversals still. So just keep that in mind. There will be some great short setups. I'm sure that they'll be coming up shortly. Other than that, that's where we sit. I shall talk to everyone later. Have a wonderful, wonderful trading day, and I'll see you back for Jackson Hole, Jay Powell's speech tomorrow, and to wrap up this week. Have a great day. Bye for now.